We used to do shit all the time, like just drink around this one statue because we'd either get too blasted during the pre-drinks that we weren't allowed in anywhere. And I mean, with
Yep.
my eyes in particular, I always look stoned. So
Yes.
most of the time, I don't even have anything. I'm stone cold sober. And the security guard will like pick up the card, look at me, and go, "You're not coming in." And I'm like, "I'm not stoned, I promise. This time I'm not."
Oh wow.
Welcome back, friends and fans, to I Want to Believe. Each episode, a special guest and I will review viral paranormal videos and give our opinions on whether it's real or if it can be debunked. So, are you a believer or a skeptic? Put your beliefs to the test as we check out some alleged proof of the paranormal caught on video. Today, my special guest co host is no other than Jayke Avery. Welcome to the show, Jake.
Thanks for having me, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Long time no see. Fun fact though, Jake and I actually grew up in the Nambucca Valley, which has been, I'd say, the bulk of all my paranormal experiences. You know, I seem to have a lot of stories from the year 2009, but admittedly, I don't think I've actually seen you face to face for a long ass time.
Uh,
Probably 2010, maybe, was the last time I saw you.
Last time probably would have been 8 or 9 years ago in Hyde Park. I ran into you actually in Sydney. I was
Shit.
I was heading out for the night and was looking for somewhere to hide my passion pop, and I think I bumped into you sitting down with some of your friends.
Honestly, that wouldn't surprise me. I probably was that drunk or stoned at that time
Yeah.
that I don't even register it. I've had so many people actually. This is becoming a bit of a reoccurring meme where I'll say to someone like, "Oh, I haven't seen you since high school," and they're like, "What are you talking about? We bumped into each other at the club, or we bumped into each other in Hyde Park," and I'm like, "Did we? I have a pretty
You
good
must
memory."
you must have been feeling it. You're in the same circle about 4 hours later when I left the place.
Yeah, definitely me.
Sounds right. Sounds right.
For our viewers, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, as you mentioned, I grew up in the Nambucca Valley as well. Um, was born in Penrith in Sydney, grew up in Nambucca Valley though. Moved back down here when I was 18 or 19, just started working. No work up where we're from, obviously, you know that.
Oh yeah.
It's impossible unless you want to work at Macca's or the servo, yeah, there's nothing for you. And now I'm running an online collectibles business, sports cards. Um,
Nice.
just doing live streams and right here actually. So yeah, that's what I've been doing with myself.
Would you consider yourself more of a believer of the paranormal or a bit more of a skeptic?
I'd put myself somewhere in the middle. I'm the sort of person that believes things that I see.
Yeah,
I don't believe other people's experiences per se. Um, and then most of my experiences were when I was younger. So I tend to think to myself, was I just making that up as a kid or whatever it may be? But whenever I see something or hear something, I lean towards believing it. But
yeah.
I try to figure out why it couldn't be real. So I'd put myself somewhere in the middle.
These videos that we're gonna watch, I don't know what to think about these. There's some which I think are clearly fake. One has been attempted to be debunked by other news sources, but they haven't
Okay.
successfully figured it out yet. So I'll take us through the first video.
I do wonder if I've seen any of them before.
I wouldn't be surprised. Some of them are quite popular. So with this first video, this is actually one of the rare alleged proof videos of a haunting in Australia. There's actually not that many. Most other Australian videos I tend to find were either clearly very bad attempts at trying to be fake proofs or whatnot.
Yep.
Others, it's mostly UFOs or it's mostly just strange footage, which I feel resembles a uni project more than an actual surveillance camera.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
with this one, it was actually caught at an IGA in Adelaide about 8, 9 years ago.
Oh
And
wow. Okay.
what the owner of the store discovered through his security camera was that there was a box of roll ups or muesli bars or something that was being thrown around the store late at night when no one's in the store. So I'll just play the security footage. So yeah, if you look towards the middle, you'll see that something flies in the middle where that red circle is. It almost looks like
Oh
it
yeah,
just appears, but then there is
yeah.
another angle where it looks like it just slides from underneath the shelf.
It does. It just comes piling out. You can see there's no one on the floor there or anything.
It doesn't seem to be anyone
Sliding it
on the right
under.
either.
Yeah. And that looks like it just appears, but then the other one it does, it just sort of skips out from underneath the shelf.
There is another angle too, which I didn't actually catch on till we just
Yeah,
watched
okay.
it then. It's from the back, and it looks like it just flies straight ahead.
Yeah, it's similar to that second angle where it sort of skips out from underneath.
There are ways to debunk this one in terms of
But
there's
I'll
so
be,
many places out of view, it could have been
yeah,
someone
it
was
could be a
way at
rat.
the back. Yeah,
It could
yeah.
be a rat underneath the shelf getting pissed off that he can't open it and just tossing it.
You know what? This is why I don't go to IGA anymore.
One of the million reasons, yeah. I believe I've seen this one.
Yeah, so this is the infamous Dobby ghost, which
Yep.
I mean, this has been what's the word? This has been attempted to be debunked before by a news station
Yeah.
that was in this area. They actually got the kid to put on the same pajamas. I don't know why they did this. They got him to put underwear in his head because that's what they thought
The
this ghost
ears.
was. Yeah, but the kid looks somewhat similar to it, but he still doesn't look uh like this ghost here or whatever it is. It just looks a bit too thin to be the
Yeah.
kid. Like especially the legs, the arms. It's doing a chicken dance of some kind.
It's almost comical. I haven't heard anything about this kid or the other side of it. I've seen this video a million times, and
Yeah.
I sort of giggle every time I see it. It's just like it. I don't know. It seems like a prank to me. It's hilarious, especially that end bit where he does that little dance walk thing. Like either that ghost is having a really good time or someone's just trying to play with us.
This is a barbershop
Yep.
somewhere in America, and I feel like this is genuinely real, but I don't know how to debunk this one. So they're just going about their business, and then you'll see that the blue tarp starts to, it looks like it inflates.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's starting to lift. They haven't recognized it yet, except the guy that's at the reception desk, he notices it and he freaks out.
uh,
And then
there
he
was
walks.
something that moved just underneath the chair, just before he walks in front of the camera. There was something that like looked like behind the chair underneath it. There was a bit of movement just
Yeah.
before the guy in the blue walks in front of the camera.
Hey, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I thought maybe it
that's a
was the
shadow. That I'm
reflection.
sure. It might be if that's like chrome or metal. It might be, but I think it is a reflection. It
Yeah.
looks like it might be like chrome, metallic, and it's just reflecting him walking by. And then the doll's head, you say?
Yeah, I think it's straight afterwards. It just starts to turn very slowly. I
Oh, I can't
didn't.
stand dolls.
Oh, me either. My great grandmother had an entire room dedicated to a porcelain doll collection, and
Oh,
I hated it.
oh, that gave me a bit of a shiver.
With this next video, I had so much trouble trying to find this. This was hugely popular on YouTube back in 2007, 2010,
That's
but
old.
it doesn't seem to be available anywhere. This is actually a bit of a compilation of 3 separate videos. So I don't know if you've
Okay.
heard of the pantry ghost.
No, I have not.
So this person filmed, like, had other occurrences in his house where he would hear noise or have poltergeist activity, and he would try and film it, but it was never on camera, except for his kitchen. He had this pantry which he opens the door, you can see there's nothing inside it, but this weird, I don't know if it's a human or if it's an alien or some kind, but she presses her hands against the glass door whenever he
So
moves
that's
back.
glass.
Yeah.
Okay. All
So
right.
I'll just play it for you. And also the door just swings open by itself.
Mm. So behind that door is meant to be a pantry.
Yeah. Like you can see the shelves, you can see that there's items and stuff in there. And then when he
Yeah.
closes it, this woman appears almost instantly.
Oh no.
And I remember seeing this back in, I think I first saw this video in 2010, and I didn't know what to think of it. Like,
Oh, is there sides in that pantry or are the shelves right on the door?
no, it seems like there's shelves behind the door. There's nothing
So there's
against the
no
glass.
space.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. Like, is it? Yeah, no, there's no space to the side, nothing.
And I
Ugh.
mean, I've I've attempted to debunk this one many times, thinking, are there any obvious cuts where it cuts from the pantry to maybe, they pause it or something and then they sneak
Yeah.
the girl in there. But it's all it's all handheld, so that is very hard to
Oh,
uh try and keep
impossible.
consistent. Yeah. And it
Especially in 2007.
oh yeah, like that type of technology didn't really exist. I mean, now
No.
there's. I said this in another episode last week. I think that there's numerous videos now where it's like the 5 minute crafts where it's like, oh, put 2 eggs in a glass of water, put it in the microwave. Suddenly you have an entire loaf of bread. And it's like, well, we know that the obvious trick is they put the glass of water with the eggs in the microwave, shut the door, and then stopped filming, took the glass of water out, put in a loaf of bread, and they're like, ta-da. But this kind of stuff, I don't
Nah,
know.
not handheld, constantly moving like that. It's impossible to sync up. It's impossible to time. And
Yeah.
it doesn't look like there's any bloody space in there. That's slightly terrifying.
And even with this next one, it's the same pantry ghost, but he brought a friend over because
Mm.
I think at one stage he had about 12 different videos. I can only find this
Oh
one that
wow.
has these two separate clips, but it was different ones where first it was the face would appear in the glass, the second video was the face and the hands, and
Yeah.
then it kept escalating. I think this was the seventh one in the series, but his friend checks the pantry, checks everything, and the ghost still appears.
This is why I hate glass doors.
So it's
30 minutes later.
soon see if she actually appears or not.
So this camera looks mounted this time.
Mm. So potentially there could be some editing tips and tricks because with a mounted camera, yeah, it's night vision. There'd be some issues around
Yeah.
it, but you can see the hands up here. He goes up to try and make contact, I guess, but
No
the pantry
thanks.
ghost just pulls back. I mean, if it was me, I would just try and open the door straight away. I'd be like, bitch, get the fuck out of my house. You don't even pay rent.
Yeah. The pantry's empty now.
Wonder if he moved all the stuff out of the pantry because he was terrified of
I mean, I probably
maybe
would.
like
Ethan
he's
gets to live on the kitchen counter if that's happening.
it's like 1 a.m. He has the munchies or something. He opens the door and he's like, "Oh fuck, I forgot you live here." But
Yeah, I don't like that one.
thought it was interesting that they take it off the mounted tripod or kitchen bench or whatever they have on it, and even then you can see that there's no space. There's nothing here. I haven't been able to find anything online about what happened to this person. It seems like he actually deleted his YouTube account, but
Oh,
yeah, that's actually been the case for a lot of these videos.
I wonder
Some of
why. I
these,
wonder if it's being called out or
mm,
what.
like even if they got debunked, I feel like they would still get millions and millions of views, so they'd still make
Yeah,
a decent amount of money for like YouTube revenue or whatnot, but
Yeah,
still nothing.
yeah, that's strange.
This is from Storyful. They're a company that generates a lot of content sent in by viewers. They analyze it
Okay,
themselves to try and debunk it themselves. This was captured during a lightning storm in Western Australia back in 2018. If you keep your eye probably between the middle and the bottom of the video in the
hmm
left, you'll see that there's a strange green light that just appears out of, whoops, it just appears out of nowhere. It looks like a hologram. And I don't know how to explain this one. I thought initially it was a laser light
Ah,
show, but it just appears out of nowhere.
it
Doesn't,
almost looks like it's catching light on the bottom of a cloud or something.
yeah. I thought it was a possibly even, I don't know, some kind of really hyperactive drone show, or maybe there was a thick material in the air, like a blanket or something that this was
Yeah, yeah.
projecting onto. But the
It's
light,
weird that it's just in a line.
yeah, and the lightning
It's
in the
just staying
background
there.
just illuminates everything else that you can't see
Yeah, there's
anything
definitely
else.
nothing else. It's a strange one because you can sort of see that where it came from,
Yeah,
and it's almost like it's shining down instead of up. It's like the light source is from above.
some people have attempted to explain that this is proof of UFOs. They've tried to say that this is uh, like Australia's first capture proof of like aliens,
Look,
unidentified flying objects. But
I'll never dispute the existence of aliens.
mm,
It's just statistically impossible that they're not out there,
mm,
in my
yeah,
opinion. But obviously you get some fake videos, but there's a lot out there that I think aren't. I've seen lights myself in the sky. Didn't look like this, but
yeah.
definitely seen things. Um, and it's impossible not to believe.
I do have to ask though, have you had any paranormal experiences yourself?
Yeah, like I said it before, nothing so much as an adult.
Mm,
Um, but I think that's also ties into the experiences that I had as a kid. Growing up, my mum was very in tune, I guess you would say. She very much believed all of this. She used to go see this. I don't know if you'd call her a psychic. Someone she described as a psychic. I think her name was Joe. She called her
yep.
when we were kids, and I remember she was telling me she went and saw her, and then this and that, and this and that. And then when I got a bit older, I was talking to her about weird things that happened to me as a kid because with my dad, you didn't really tell him things happened. He
Yeah.
was very you're gonna catch the back of the hand before you get a word out sort of person. Um, so I didn't really talk to him about things, and then if I said it to mum, she'd tell dad, whatever it would be. But so many experiences, especially revolving around what to me felt like a small girl,
Mm,
which when it was happening at the time was probably around my age. If I from what I can remember, her size. But I would, I would wake up in the middle of the night and see sort of her figure like leaning over, looking through the hinge of my door and watching me sleep and things like that. And then you
shit.
would see a shadow cast on the wall. And occasionally she wouldn't have a head.
Mm,
And as a kid, that terrified me, obviously. And then as I got sort of into my tweens, early teens, I remember telling mum about all the because we were sitting around talking one night, just telling. I think it's around when Paranormal Activity came out, and
yeah.
then it the first one, and then it got us talking, and my dad mentioned things that happened, and then I started telling mum about this, and she got very scared very quickly. She said when you were little, I went and saw this woman Joe. She said that you had um, these different spirits, whatever you want to call them, watching over you. And there was apparently four or five of them, but the main
Oh,
one was this young girl. And then it started to click. Like there were times when my auntie Jeanette would babysit us, and she was very young. She was my mum's younger sister by a good oh, 7 years, and my mum had me when she was 17, 18.
yeah.
So she was young herself. She was still pretty much a teenager. And then it started clicking, and there was this one time Jeanette, my auntie, invited her friend over while she was babysitting us, and they locked me and my brother in my mum's room so they could drink in the lounge room and do whatever the hell they were doing. I think I was 5 or 6, and they
Yeah.
locked us in the bedroom all night. And then when they finally came and locked us in the bedroom, we left the room. We went out to go, excuse me, to go to our bedrooms. And then we hear these big bangs and screaming and shouting. And Jeanette and her friend were locked in my mum's cupboard, which didn't have a lock, that they couldn't get out. And and then that sort of started clicking, those sorts of things. And I was like, was this that girl that this Joe woman was talking about protecting me?
Hmm.
You know, or punishing them? Was she angry? Or because it wasn't protecting, what had happened to me already happened. Maybe she was just doing that. And then Jeanette would come out crying, bawling her eyes out, and different things like this would happen all the time. You know, if dad got particularly aggressive, he would randomly trip over nothing.
Hmm.
Um, just things like that all the time. And then as I got older, it started happening less. I think that's because I was able to take care of myself more.
Yeah.
Um, but then the skeptic in me also says, was I just making all this shit up?
Yeah.
You know, and talking with my mum, and then was that just make in my head making stories up? But then they'd all feel so real that I have to believe it happened. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my main ongoing experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
So
so sorry you had to go through all that. I can't imagine how terrifying it would have been as a kid, not only with having to see the headless ghost, but also just mix it with the other experiences too.
I never really felt scared of her. That's the thing. It was this feeling of what I remember. It was this feeling of calm. I was
Hmm.
never scared, and I was scared of a lot of things as a kid. That should have scared me, but I never really did feel that true fear. Like I didn't want to see what it was, or I didn't want to look or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just felt calm whenever that happened with her in particular. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's because of why she was there, like, was to keep me safe.
Yeah.
I don't know,
That's
just an opinion.
I admittedly I didn't really see anything when I was a kid. It was more towards my teenagehood, except for this one separate experience when I was about 10 years old, which I spoke about in the first episode. But I have the weirdest story that not many people know. I have told a few people, and they've looked at me like as if I'm crazy because there are so many different parameters to this. But in short, I don't know if you ever went through the bush track that was near the Nambucca High School, if you
From the
remember that
top down
area.
to the to Anzac Bellwood Park with the tennis courts at the bottom. Oh wait, near the
Shit.
high school you said.
Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah,
Nambucca
yeah,
High
no,
School. Yeah. So there were always numerous, what do you call it, like urban legends. People would always talk a lot of shit, being like, oh, yeah, me and my friend walked past there. We saw a girl on fire. It was so cool, bro. And you think, yeah, yeah, as if like it's always the same people that talk a lot of shit. But we walk through there all the time, nighttime, midnight, 1 a.m., didn't matter. Never
yeah,
saw anything, never felt anything, except for this one night where me and my friend, I can't actually refer to her by her real name because I haven't got her permission, so I'll just call her
yep,
Stephanie. I don't know why we always had this habit of just walking around Nambucca really, really late at night when I was like 16, 17. But I knew, even though back then I considered Nambucca somewhat safe, especially compared to how it is now, where you get
yeah,
shot at for going grocery shopping. But I mean, she was the I guess you could say, like, looked like a typical girl that would be seen as like innocent and easy to take advantage of. So I
Yep.
always made sure that I walked her home, even though I did not look any. I was not a threatening
I
looking
I can
teenager.
attest to that. I can attest to that. I can back that up.
Like
No,
long Justin
definitely not.
Bieber hair, like if anything, people would get out of the car and I'd be like, "You're on your own, bitch." No, but then we were walking through the bush track one night, and I mean, me and this girl, we used to always get stoned together. We used to get drunk together. We were stone cold sober that night. We were actually looking to go buy some weed, so we couldn't find any. So we thought, fuck it, let's just go back to her house. She used to live in that weird little posh area where like some of the high school teachers lived, and
Yeah, okay.
we walked through the bush track and we were just talking. There was nothing eerie about it. We weren't even talking about anything scary. And then out of nowhere, this big bright light appeared in front of us, and I thought, what is that? It looks like a motorcycle light. Like just one light. It wasn't two lights. It was a bit larger than a regular motorcycle light, but we thought, maybe it's a bit blown out because it's like pitch black throughout there. This was
Yeah, yeah.
way before smartphones had torches on phones. We
Yep.
didn't have a torch or anything, but we could still see enough to walk us through that path.
Yeah, of course.
And it was the strangest thing. We started to get a little bit scared, and I thought, all right, maybe let's move to the side. Maybe let's get out of the way of this thing because it looked like it was just going to go past us. And then we didn't hear revving. We just heard this weird sound. It felt like a supersonic sound. I really don't know how to describe it.
Like a pulse.
Just like a boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, like a pulsating sound. Yeah.
Yeah, like did not sound like a
Okay.
car or a motorbike. And then out of nowhere, the light just turned off, and we thought, okay. So we moved back to the middle of the bush track, kept walking. We only walked like an extra 2 minutes, and we're already at the end of the bush track. And there was a huge log which always used to be across that bush track area anyway. But usually there would be a gap enough for at least a bike or a motorbike. Instead,
Yeah.
both logs were pushed together, and we thought,
Oh,
what the hell? There was no like tire tracks in the dirt that was nearby. We looked back and our footprints were still there, but we don't know what the hell that was. We just kept walking back to her house. And I mean, I've actually got another two stories involving this one friend for future
yeah.
episodes, but that was one of the weirder ones because again it was a shared experience that I have a
Yeah.
witness to testify and say yeah that 100% happened, but when we told all our friends like either on the phone or let's say 2009 probably would have been MySpace or something at that point, so
Okay.
we were telling people and they're like, oh, were you stoned again? Oh, were you drinking? We're like, no, we actually weren't. And they're like,
It's hard when
oh
you get that reputation.
yeah, like
Yeah.
so we were like, what the do we just agree that this happened to us, but no one's gonna believe us about it? And even then, like my younger brother, he's 19, he graduated from Nambucca last year, and the
Yeah.
urban
Okay.
legends are still ongoing. There's still all the year groups talk about how one of them was with this girl and they saw a girl on fire, but there's never been recorded history of anyone dying in that bush track, nor has there been like graves or any other weird activity or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that urban legend started in the first place. It just feels like it was
And then
taken from
just
a horror movie.
continues as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's plenty of that in Nambucca. Like, do you remember our friend Jacob?
Jacob Shaw.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's my greatest friend. He only tried to kill me at my 18th. But go
Do you remember his house where it was?
on.
At the
Okay.
end of the, it was near,
Was it near the Red School?
yeah, it was near the primary school, like sort of when you got the NRMA in the primary school and you got the hills and all of that, and it's in like a dead end street.
Yes.
There's a
Yes.
bush directly across like on his street, a big bush, and it leads all the way through to the beach.
Yeah.
And there was a period of a few months there where, for some reason, I hung out with him a lot, and we just constantly got high. We were just drunk all the time, and it was just ridiculous. And we'd always go wandering late through to the beach. And it was a good 45-minute walk,
Mm.
like through the bush, just straight through the bush, no track, nothing. You'd always end up with leeches on you because there was little streams you had to walk through and shit. But there was always talk of I think they called him a yogi. I don't know
Oh,
what, but there's apparently this old man that lives out there in the bush, like hermit, but he's done so for a ridiculous amount of time, like unnaturally long. And it was always whenever we would have people come with us, we'd tell them about it because we had heard it to scare them.
mm.
And then eventually you start hearing things and you start hearing movement, which could very easily be animals, but then you start hearing like what you think is talking, sounds like talking, but very far away. Maybe someone talking to themselves, things like that. And then
Yeah,
it would end up getting to the point some nights where it would just rattle you up that much that you would just, when you're that scared and you just sprint,
yeah,
and it's like, it doesn't matter how puffed you get, and you can't hear anything. When you're like this, you're just sprinting, and all you can focus on is where your feet are going. And it was a couple of times where we'd end up doing that just all the way to the beach and then refusing to go back through,
yeah,
like going the long way around, back up, all the way. And there's so much of that around the Nambucca Valley. And I think the small town sort of dynamic of it really feeds it a lot more.
yeah,
Um, like I live in Penrith now. You're not going to hear a story about a local bloody bush legend from someone that it's going to be passed on through everyone. You're just not. There's too many people.
yeah,
Um, but it's definitely interesting growing up in a place like that with all the stories and just especially when you already sort of believe in a lot of the stuff
yeah.
and yeah, it's just it's an interesting dynamic. I think, especially when you're a night owl like me and you're easily
Mm.
scared.
Oh, I tell you what though. So I was going to save this story for another episode, but it ties in so well. That exact same bush track you're talking about, that
Yeah.
also connected to my house, my parents' house back in Newman Street. And
Oh.
I never actually took that bush track because I always walked the long ass way around to the beach, or I
Yep.
would drive, or I never rode a bike. I don't know why I was going to say I rode a bike, but like we would have people all the time, and not like a weekly thing. It was more like maybe one or two people a month or every other month. But we used to have this massive paddock that was next door to the Newman Street house. I can't remember if you ever visited that house.
I came to a house that you lived in that was more like a unit
I think that might have
uh,
been down the road. Yeah.
on the main street that you take to go to Main Beach in Nambucca. It was like a brick unit type thing near where Georgia lived. Or was that Georgia's house?
I think that might have been either George's house or Daniel, the emo
I know
Daniel.
Daniel. It was either you. It was either. I think it was Georgia then. I don't think I ever went to your actual house if that's the case, because
Yeah.
the few times I did see you and hang out with you were at that place, and that was when I was with Georgia a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love Georgia. She's still the
I
meme
was.
queen.
I haven't spoken to her in years.
I usually, her and I communicate through just memes now. Like we just talk every now and then because she's got like two kids. She's got a job. She lives
Yeah,
in Nambucca still, so we're just light years apart. But
yeah.
every now and then I'll message her and be like, haha, doesn't this meme look like Janice? Or, some stupid shit.
Janice. Oh
uh,
wow.
but
Oh, the memory. Man, it all when you mentioned one name, so many things just come rushing back.
this
Oh,
this bloody bush track though. So I had seen a lot of weird people come through, like because I used to live in this. I would call it the sunroom. It was this huge bedroom which my parents wanted to use as a storage thing, and I said, "Nah, I'm in senior year in high school. I want this room. I want to have people over. I want to have parties and shit." So I don't know why they said yes, but they agreed to it, and I used to have windows which were ceiling high. I could see full view of the paddock, and it didn't scare me until I started seeing people walk past. And sometimes I'd be like, "Who the fuck is outside my house?" And then I realized, oh, they're doing the bush walk. Like they're probably just gone to the beach, gone stoned or drunk or whatever, and they're just
Yeah.
walking past or whatnot, except for one night where I was, again, like sober. I just finished work at good old KFC, the best
Oh
place on
wow.
the planet. And I remember getting home and I was looking out the window and I saw this really weird. I still think to this day it was someone in like a Halloween costume because it was right on Halloween as well. And it looked like the Chewbacca thing from Star Wars?
Just furry.
Very furry, very tall, very thick, and they were really dark, so I couldn't properly see them. But I know that they were just standing in the field, and I thought they were not standing. They were looking into the rest of the forest, like the trees and all that. So I just ignored
Yeah.
it, and then I came back 10 minutes later, and it's staring at me with glowing red eyes,
Oh.
and I was like, "Hold on,
Oh.
what the fuck?" And then I was like, "What am I looking at?" And everyone else in the house is asleep at this point. And my partner at the time, Peter, he didn't finish work till much later. So I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck am I looking at? And
Did I
then,
just smoke a few billies and forget, or?
yeah. Even then, like, I've got plenty of stories where me and the same friend, Stephanie, we saw a proper ghost. But again, we were really high at the time. But even then, we both saw something. She described it as something very different. She thought it was a male ghost. I still think it was a female ghost because it was wearing a dress. Not saying men can't wear dresses, but you
Careful.
know, 2009, there was no
Yeah.
progress like that at that time. And so we argue to this day about what we both saw, but we've also had shared nightmares where we've both woken up and told each other the exact same thing at the exact same time. So there's no way
That's
that could have
crazy.
been like premeditated. But I remember it was about 2 or 3 weeks after I saw this, whatever that fucking figure was. My partner Peter, he was sitting up against the bed, and I was at work this time. And I came home and I was like, I'm so tired. And I was like, oh, tell me about your day, blah, 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 trying to be like, supportive partner, whatever. And he just completely calmly, he just goes, something knocked on the window behind me. And I was like, what? And now Peter, like, never smoked weed, never did drugs, never did anything like that. Would drink occasionally, but he could never drink to the point of getting drunk. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sorry, what did you say? And he goes, something knocked on the window behind me. I felt the tap against my head. And I thought, is he joking? Because the area that I was in, it was at least like 2 stories on top of the ground. So you would need a
Yeah.
proper ladder to put the ladder against the house, walk up, tap on the door, and then suddenly fall down the ladder, throw the ladder away so you can't get
An
seen. And
escape.
yeah. And like he turned back, it was still sunset time, so he could see full into the field. He said there was nothing there. He went downstairs, there were no footprints, there were no nothing. So we just thought maybe a bird flew into that window
Yeah.
because sometimes they did do that. But he said it was a distinct behind his head.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Oh.
I actually tried to get him onto this video series because I said to him 3 or 4 months ago, I was like, hey, remember that story you told me like 12 years ago? And he's like, what are you talking about? That never happened. And I was
Oh.
like, you told me that happened.
It
And
makes you
he's
feel so stupid when that happens. It happens to me all the time.
and I'm like, don't you remember when you said that happened? And he goes, oh, probably did. I forgot about it. So then I called my mom because I was like, I know I'm not crazy. I know that happened. And I was like, hey, do you remember when Peter thought that he encountered a ghost at the old house? And before I even finished, my mom goes, oh, are you talking about the time when the ghost knocked 3 times behind his head? And I was like, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So like we remember it, but for some reason he doesn't.
Oh, so many situations like that, like with my cousins, or be at a family thing. I'll be like, "You remember when this happened, this happened, this happened?" You try not to sound crazy, but
Yeah.
then they don't back you up, and it's like, just help me out here. Even if you don't remember, please just say you do.
I have to bring up Jacob Shaw. It's okay, he doesn't follow me or anything. So he actually tried to murder me on my 18th birthday. Uh,
Yeah.
Apparently, I never saw this myself, but friends of mine said that he was walking up the hill in Newman Street because I've never understood this. Apparently, he had a competing birthday on my actual birthday. So
I
mine
think I remember this.
so mine was an 18th. I only invited 50 people, and then 300 people showed up to it. So I was like, oh, well, room for more. Who cares? Everyone brought their own shit anyway. And then people left his party. I got told different reasons. Apparently, he just had like a car CD player or something that was blasting music, but so were we. So I was like, well, that can't be the reason. And then others apparently caught wind of my party that was happening. And I remember one of my KFC workers, friends, colleagues, whatever, I was going to go walk down the hill after the cops stopped my party. And he said, don't go down there, dude. There's someone with a knife. And I was like, oh, bullshit. Who's going to be down there with a knife? This is one of the safest areas. And then another friend came up and said, no, Justin, Jacob Shaw's down there. And I was like, Jacob Shaw, who the fuck cares about Jacob Shaw? What's he going to do? Like, he was, I'm not going to put this in the video, but he was the type of person that would beg me to fuck him online 24/7, but then in
Me
person
too.
it'd be like, I'm gonna jump you, you're a fucking cunt, oh, I'm gonna jump you. And I'm like, no, you want me to jump you. You've been begging for it 24/7. It's not gonna happen. And then like I don't remember if it was Georgia or someone else, but they said that he had a knife. I don't know how big it was, but apparently he was planning to stab me as revenge. But also, there was this thing that went around. I don't know who was behind it. Someone created a Facebook page or group or whatever it was at that time called Jacob Shaw Loves His Drugs with a picture of Jacob smoking from a bong. But
Oh.
and people just assumed it was me because I hated Jacob and I told everyone on Facebook about it. But I was like, I would never do that. I don't care for him that much.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so I think that was also part of the reason. But he messages me every 2 or 3 years at this point now, being like, haha, I'm gonna fuck you up and you're a cunt.
Really?
And yeah, and I'm just like, dude, get over it. Like, I had a better party than you, I'm sorry, but like 12
Yeah, a
years
decade
is still
ago,
not over
12 years ago.
it. Jake, thank you very much for joining me today.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, anytime. Viewers, keep an eye out for new episodes. If you like this episode, give us a comment, like, share, subscribe, tip, etc., etc. And if you hated this episode, go fuck yourself. Bye.